Okay. Hello, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Tallahassee, Washington, D.C., and Denver, all places across the U.S. And we're going to go live on national TV in just a second. We're going to talk about a couple of stories, and then we're going to go back to regular programming. We have some really good programs coming on from Dustin Plantholt, Dennis Price, Adam Russ, Adam with the credit stacking. By the way, all of them are wonderful. We're going to have a special guest, Raphael, on this afternoon on a podcast that we're doing. And that one right there is talking about insurance. And if you have this guy, and these guys are experts extraordinaire at getting your roof paid for if you have a three-tab shingle. It is like a no-brainer. It's not 100%, but it's like 99% that you're going to get a new roof and insurance is going to pay for it if you have a three-tab shingle. So look forward to that podcast here coming up in about 4 hours. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be pretty cool, okay? Now, I'm broadcasting out of Houston, and they're in Phoenix. And but anyway, they can go anywhere from Phoenix to Houston to Corpus Christi to College Station to Beaumont, Lake Charles, Washington, D.C. Oh, yeah, there's houses in Washington, D.C. that still have a three-tab shingle on it. Can you believe that? Also, to matter of fact, a buddy of mine was showing me a picture of his house. You know, it's an older house. It's been around for 40 years. Still a great. He's done a lot of remodeling on the inside. But they can't replace the roof. Can you believe that? I mean, wow. That's insane. That's like never changing your clothes ever. Anyway, we're not going to go. I'm not going to go too far today. We're having a little bit of fun here. Hold on, give me just a second here. There we go. There we go. Live in Houston, Corpus Christi, hi Corpus Christi. I'm going to turn on the recording here, and I'm going to record just a little bit of our show today. It's exciting stuff that's going on. I mean, absolutely exciting. And I mean, what a time to be alive in this world. Hold on one second here. Don't go nowhere. I'm going to load. We're going to go to all the things here. I'm being my own studio engineer. And we're going to go to commercial break here in just a second. So I'll hold tight here. But anyway, this is this is going to be crazy. If you have a there's like a 99% chance that insurance is going to pay for it. And they are begging for you, if you have a 3-tab shingle on your roof, they are begging for you to get a new roof, and they want to pay for it. I know you've heard a lot of stuff in the news about the insurance companies, and I don't blame you. You know, but I'm trying to tell you now, when it comes to your home, you have a house under mortgage, okay, and you still have insurance, they are desperate for you to get your roof replaced. It means a lot to them. Okay, we're going to go to commercial break. You've been watching the Fly Mackey Show. I'm your host, Fly Mackey, and we'll be back here in just a second. So for those of you on social media, we're still uh, out going in. We're going strong here on social media, but the TV audience, they're in Houston, Corpus Christi, College Station, Beaumont, Texas, Lake Charles, Louisiana, Tallahassee, Florida, Washington, D.C., Denver, Colorado, and many other places around the country. Those guys in their homes, they're on commercial break right now. The rest of you get to see what's going on here. I'm gonna you see you see what's going on with Elon. That guy is pretty amazing, and I think he's already found about $400 billion, give or take, something like that. I could be off on that number. I'll verify that later. Of you know of waste in the federal government, and we wanted to know where all the black ops are, and how they fund all these undercover programs and stuff like that. Regime changes in different countries. It comes from the U.S. aid. That one department, they had so much money to spend, and they're going to get a handle on that. So President Trump just put not Elon, but Marco Rubio as director, I think it is, over that. And of course, they're gonna probably root out about 90% of that money there, because it's all going to black ops. A lot of it is going to, I should say, is money laundering. Of course, they're finding out lots of money laundering schemes already. Things that have been paid for decades that they're not even working anymore. I don't know why folks get paid like that. There you go. How's the oranges today? Are they Florida oranges? They're loco oranges. Local oranges. My brother's over there eating oranges. I can smell them. You can always tell a good orange because you can smell it. That's for sure. So we're back. We're back here live here on the Fly Mackey channel, or I should say on Smart Money Culture Television Network, the Fly Mackey Show. We have a lot of good hosts coming up, and I think I'm going to mess up this next 6-minute clip, but every 6 minutes or so we play commercials, so we can pay for our operations and stuff like that, just like every other television network. Those of you who've been loyal and watching this for the last year and 4 months, we play these shows, we never play any commercials, and that's why we have a really loyal audience, about 140,000 plus viewers a day. We're really excited to have you watching us now. Now, when you see these commercials, if it pertains to you, go call the number. If it has a QR code, just put your phone up to it, and it'll take you right to the site, and you can buy those services if you want to buy the service. If you don't want to buy it, you don't want to. Stay on the phone with them though for at least 60 seconds, because we don't get paid unless you stay on the phone for at least 60 seconds. So please go there when you see these ads, if you can use the service. If you can't use the service, don't call them, waste your time. But if you can use their service, call them up, stay on the phone with them for a while, listen to what they have to say, so we can support ourselves here at Smart Money Culture Television. We're going to take this model all across the country. And we're so excited about our new opportunity. We're looking at an opportunity to buy some stations. We have a good partner down there in Texas on the network we're on now. These guys are serious about growing the business. There's 3 channel or stations now that have had some issues. We're looking to buy those. There's one in Houston, one in Dallas, one in Phoenix is gone. X that one out of it. But a lot of good stuff is happening, okay? And hopefully in the next week or 2, we're going to be live in Phoenix, Arizona. And then I'll be setting up shop back there a little bit, okay? But it's always traveling. and and Trump's and Obama, excuse me, yeah, in Trump first time as president, we were approved to be in the part of the press there. That was many years ago, and so now we're trying. We don't have the social media traction that we did. We had several 100,000 followers then, on Instagram, and we had. When you sell your business and you sell everything with it, there it goes. People say, "Why did you sell that?" I don't know. They wanted it, so you sell it all at the same time. Just have a drink of coffee. Let's take a look at a little bit of news. Let's see. Now we're on 4. We got about another minute and a half, and then we're going to go to commercial break. And now, being my own studio engineer, we have some great engineers. Uncle John and Marjorie, those guys are amazing engineers. I mean, amazing engineers. And we have a great staff here at Smart Money Culture. And as we're growing, so when you see these ads, if you can use the service, they call it and stay on the phone for at least a minute. So if you have an interest in one of the ads that we're playing, like the debt consolidate, I think it's the debt service. You have one on there that has to do with rehab. If you have any issues, there's so much money to pay to get into rehab these days. It's unbelievable how much money that President Trump set aside the first time and was never used. Okay, so you guys, I mean, seriously never used, and there's more of it. So if you guys need some help, you call those lines, stay on them with at least a minute, listen to what they got to say, and then if you can get into those services, and if not, that's just the way it is. You're talking to somebody who had alcohol and drug problems for a few years when I was younger, and became a friend of Bill W's, and next thing you know, you get old and you got a little time sober, right? You wouldn't want to see this guy drinking, that's for sure. We're going to go to commercial break here in just a minute. Y'all hang tight now, and we'll be right back, okay? You've been watching the Fly Mackey Show here on Smart Money Culture Television. We'll be right back. And there you go. What is going on here in the news? Yeah, yeah. Let's go ahead. Just go ahead and repost that. And we'll use that as some news here in a little bit. A lot of great news that you see. Yeah, interesting stuff. How they do things. I tell you, I think those of you watching this out on social media, Hold on one second. I'm going to be right back here in just a second here. We're going to go live again. Let's have some coffee. We're going to have a really good show on insurance here in a little while. This is a pro insurance too. Pro insurance show, because these companies want to get you a new roof, especially if you have a 3-tab shingle. They're desperate for you to get one. We're going to come back live here in just a second here. Let's go. All right. Welcome back to the Fly Mackey Show. I'm your host, Fly Mackey, and you're watching the Fly Mackey Show. How was that orange? It looked good. I could smell it from over here. Nice and sweet. My brother was eating an orange. I could smell it 10 feet away. That's when you know you have a good orange. That's for sure. Later this afternoon, you guys and gals, we're going to be we have a podcast on with a special guest, Raphael, and he is with A1 Roofing out in Phoenix, Arizona. And these guys do insurance jobs like you wouldn't believe. And they are experts at what they do. So if you have a 3-tab shingle, there's like a 99% chance. It's not 100%, but I say it's 99 because these guys are so good at getting yourself a brand new roof, because they are desperate to get those roofs. Although they've done a great job for you, I'm guessing for 20, 30, 40 years, they're still not made for the Arizona, Texas climate. Matter of fact, they're not really good for anywhere in the country anymore. Mainly just because because the winds have picked up. You know, the climate has changed over the last. Not climate. We're not saying anything about climate change, but you know, the Earth has evolved a little bit over the last 40, 50, 60 years, 70, 80, 100 years when those shingles were first developed. Great shingles, do great work. But once again, if you are if you have a homeowner, and you have a mortgage, okay, and you're paying insurance for that roof up there, homeowner's insurance, you're paying to insure your roof, and you have a 3-tab shingle, there is a really good chance that the insurance companies will pay to get you a new roof, okay? So you want to pay attention to that show right there. And I think they have a fee of like, I'll ask them later, from $99 to $499 to do the service for you. They do all the vetting of the contractors. They vet. They do the work with the insurance after you make your claim, and they go through the entire process of making sure that you get taken care of as a homeowner. You can hire them too if you want. You don't have to. They typically will find other contractors that are just as good as they are to perform the work for you, and then let insurance pay for it. Isn't that something? So that's really exciting stuff coming up. That, I'm just looking over here. We're going to do a little bit more news till 22 minutes after the hour. Let's see what's going on X here. Defund NPR. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100% NPR needs to get defunded. It's a propaganda tool for the government, and it's the left wing. And this lady here is talking about the truth doesn't matter. What's more important is putting out what the government wants to be said, or what Wikipedia, in this particular case, she's talking about Wikipedia. This is how bad some of our media is. You know, they need to be defunded immediately, 100%. The AI is becoming is what's going on. So the reason that I show a lot of you guys here in our audience what's going on here on social media is because local broadcast television, you guys know, and I'm speaking to the choir here, is a special group of demographics that typically don't have, you're considered the unbanked. What that means is, for those of you who don't know why they call you that, the majority of our viewers have bank accounts, but don't like to keep their cash in the bank. So they get a check, they go to the bank, they cash it, and they only leave enough to keep the account open. That's about it. And they mainly live on cash credit cards. They typically don't have internet wired into the house. They typically don't have cable TV. And when I say talking about internet, these guys and gals, you guys that are watching, typically aren't. But I'm speaking in the kind of like the third party of you guys who are watching the TV show, with the other advertisers and stuff, and the people that we talk to, because they don't advertise to you because you're not trolling the internet. You don't have cable TV. You're not watching legacy TV, which is considered ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, the big network. So look for us to come to a neighborhood near you. We are growing, scaling as we speak. So when you see these commercials, by the way, digressing, what President Trump says, I'm doing the weed. He's doing the weed, where he gets on a subject and then he goes the other way, and then he goes the other way, this way, and then he comes back to what he was talking about, right? And so when you see these ads, if they pertain to you, like in debt relief, or someone wanting to buy your home, or perhaps the rehab stuff, if that pertains to you, then call the number. This is how we support ourselves as a network. And these ads here, we put them on there, and they really are to service consumers. We're not putting ads out there like big networks where we're trying to propagandize. These are actually services that the average human being in America, especially where you live, can use. And if you have a problem with substance or drinking, something like that, I guess substance is all the same, then call that number and stay on for at least a minute so we get paid and listen to what they got. You don't have to buy the service. Okay. But once again, there you go. We're going to take another break. You've been watching the Fly Mackey Show here on Smart Money Culture. And we'll be right back. What's going on? I'm just looking at another tab over here. I'm looking at some news and some other stuff. We're going to take a look at. We're going to take a look at. It's interesting. Interesting. That's very interesting. Close that tab right there. Let's close that tab right there. We're going to close that tab right there. Oh yeah, I want to see Doge audit the IRS 100%. Ted Cruz is talking about abolish the IRS 100%. Abolish the IRS 100%. Let's get rid of it. Why should we pay the IRS when we can be taxing, through tariffs, these other countries? We're going to be right back on live here in just a second. You guys hang tight. This is going to get exciting here. What's happening with Smart Money Culture TV as we start to scale. And welcome back to the Fly Mackey Show. I'm your host, Fly Mackey. We were talking earlier about insurance. Hold tight 1 second here. 20. Okay. We've been talking. I got off on my time a little bit. We've been talking about insurance and having the free tab shingle, and we haven't got into any other news about what's going on with what's going on with the country. But look forward to that podcast here in about 3 hours. And we got a special guest out of Phoenix, Arizona. And these guys, once again, are experts at what they do. If you need a new roof, if you have a leak, if you're driving up to your house and go, you know what, I love my home, the roof doesn't look as pretty as it used to. It just doesn't look so handsome anymore. Then you may want to contact these guys because they are expert at it. And the insurance companies want to pay to get you a new roof. Okay? That is the truth. Especially if you have a mortgage. Now, if you don't have a mortgage, they're not so excited to get you one because you don't have insurance. If you don't, if you haven't kept up your insurance, because a lot of folks, after they pay the mortgages off, stop paying for the insurance. But once again, if you have insurance, don't be afraid to ask them. They're not going to raise your rates. They don't do that. People go, oh, they're no, that's not true. They're not raising your rates. We'll get to that in just a second. You get to hear all about that later on this afternoon. I want to look at something real quick. Okay. All right. Dan, how you doing? All right. I see you got the service, right? Huh? You didn't? Why is it working? Okay. All right. I'm just talking to my nephew right now. I'm telling you. Oh boy. If you ever get a chance to visit the great state of Texas, I highly recommend you go. The people there are, you hear a lot of stories. Don't believe what you hear. Yeah, was there a lot of bad stuff going on? There was a lot of bad stuff going on all over the country for hundreds of years. Okay, so but I can tell you this: that Texans, almost everybody is carrying peace. Okay, they're protecting their what's called self protection, and they know how to mind their business, and they're so friendly. And they don't care whether you're brown like me or any other color. They're just friendly people. And if just salt of the earth, or the kind of, I'm getting messages over. I'm looking like, what? What? My mom would be saying, itty bitty, I can't believe you're on TV talking about this stuff. My mom and dad in heaven now, but man, I was so lucky. My mother, Erna May, was born in 1912, and my dad was born in 1915. Yeah, I could be off a year or two there with my dad. My dad was it 3 years or 6 years? Anyway, he was a few years younger than my mom, but amazing human beings. They adopted me when I was 3, and I'm telling you, what a life I had growing up with those guys. You a brown boy with an Irish Catholic father and a Jewish mother. I didn't know whether I was pitching or catching. Let's look at Bitcoin for a little bit, okay? Look at this. I'm going to get rid of that right there. Just remove that. By the way, those of you who've been following me, I do. This is a lane right here that I was pointing out. This is the lane right here. This one right here, I was just drawn to show you some bottoms where if it hits these groups. Oh, I messed that up. So that. Let's get rid of this. We're going to get rid of that one right there. So here's a direction here that Bitcoin has been traveling in. You see this line here, this line here. This is the lane that it's been traveling in. Get rid of that one right there. These guys who trade professionally, they look at my charts and they go, man, this stuff is so amateur. And it is. The whole goal with each chart is to try to get an idea of what you're looking at. We're going to go back to commercial break. Okay. We're going to go back to commercial break here in just a second. You've been watching the Fly Mac Show. I'm your host. Right back. Those of you who are still here with me on social media, thanks for watching. We got several hundred on our website now, and of course we have a couple on social media. Our social media is not that big. Tell your friends and family and everybody you know, watch this guy, okay, or watch Smart Money Culture Television. They can go to smartmoneyculture.tv, find us. You can go to our website there, smartmoneyculture.tv. It is so easy to find us out there. Anyway, let's look at Bitcoin here. It dipped again, once again. Let's get rid of that right there. Dipped again down below this line here, and $98,000. Once again, I've been talking about Bitcoin for so many years, and in my opinion, Bitcoin's going to $100 million. When? Who knows? In our lifetime? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's going to be worth, in my opinion, probably somewhere around, the whole Bitcoin ecosystem. I think is probably going to be around, $100 trillion before it's over with. And so you hear people, people buy it, sell it all the time, whatever. I've been saying, I think you just need to own a little bit of it. But once again, you make those decisions on what you want to do. It's definitely a volatile market for those people who trade. Volatility is a big deal, right? They want it to be volatile. That just means it moves. Okay, let's take a look at it right now. We're not giving any advice. The Bitcoin here, you see here, this is a 4-hour. Back over here. I'm going to keep this lane. See these two lines right here? I'm going to keep these because this lane right here in this trajectory, I just want to keep that because you could actually move this out here just a little bit further. You can move this out here just a little further, just to see if it's going to continue to travel in this. Yeah, right there. See if it's going to continue to travel back up into this. This is a big deal when you hit the mountain. See, these are the mountain tops right here. All-time highs. I think the next time around when this bumps, once again, those of you guys who've been following me, welcome back to the Fly Mackey Show. I'm your host, Fly Mackey, here on Smart Money Culture TV. Glad to have you back. So back over here, I want to look at this just a second. So when this bounces, and those of you who've been following me over the last several months as we've been tracking this, since I've been tracking this in November. We've been tracking it a long time, but since November, I have it. I think we could see it tumble down to. I think you could see this tumble down to somewhere in between 75 and 80,000, maybe even lower. And then, but once it does, and it's already hit, 76,000. So is it going to go back down there? Only the institutional buyers and sellers know that. But I guarantee this. Well, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but when this bottom hits and it starts going the other direction, I think our next high is going to be somewhere between 155,000 and 188,000, probably closer to $188,000. It's going to have a few stops along the way, but then again, you just never know. This thing may. My brother sending me something here. Something else. I love that one. Anyway, so you never know. I have it charted to $771,000 as well. So will it hit that? Oh yeah, sooner or later it's going to $100 million. But it still has to get through this phase here. I think the next benchmark somewhere between $188,000 and $255,000. with some stops along the way. Those are going to be the two major, from my charting, those are going to be the next two major stops along the way. 188, 189, closer to 189,000. And then, of course, then you're going to, should be right at about 255,000. Those should be two major points that you're going to. Once again, what goes up must come down. Bitcoin has been very volatile along the way. What these guys do is when these dips happen, the 100 millionaires and the billionaires are buying. So when you take that ride up and it starts dipping, and you sell, then they're buying up what you sell, and they're buying up in massive amounts. Okay, give you a little stat here. We're going to go back to commercial break here in just a second. When you have taking a look at the chart here, what's happening here. Trading right now at $98,214. You see here it's had a pretty good day today, or yesterday. Where are we at here? Right here. So it ended with a good day yesterday, and then now you have on incrementally working its way down again. But you can see, if you just want to see it, this is a 4-hour chart. Just look at this. So this is why don't get excited. So that's the trajectory. That's probably a better one from the top up here. Get the top of this. See this right here? See this right here? Hit the top of this mountain as it starts going down, this candle. You hit the top of that one. Right there. Probably the better angle right there. You want to see that. So you see that trajectory, bam, all-time high. And as it's going down, it hits the top of that little candle there. It went through the bottom of these candles here, at the top of this candle here. And that's just the trajectory. I'm not putting anything on here. You want to really see somebody professional that knows what they're doing. You can go to Christopher Inks, Mark Meckler, guys like that. And Matt Dixon also is really, world-class analyst. But you see, does this say anything about going up? Does anything about this say it's going up? I haven't seen Bitcoin this bearish in, a decade. Well, maybe 7 years, 7 or 8 years. I have 7 years, the last 7 years, I have not seen Bitcoin this bearish. Does that mean that it's going to? No, it doesn't mean anything. I'm just saying I haven't seen it this bearish in a long, long time. Now, what that means, though, is for you guys and gals out there, what goes up always comes down. If you look at the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, over the 100 and some odd years that the New York Stock Exchange, well, it's actually 200 plus years old. But when you look since the late 1800s to when they really started tracking the New York Stock Exchange and the Dow to today, it's going like this. It has its dips going like that, and this, it has lots of dips, has lots of this going on, lots of this going on, but overall, it's like this. It's been going straight up, and Bitcoin has too. From the last 14 years, it has done nothing but go almost straight up. Has it gone south? Yeah. Has it dipped? Yeah. But overall, if you look at the overall, we could look at a map at it some other time. And this thing has gone through the roof. We're going to go back to another commercial break. You've been watching the Fly Mackey Show here on Smart Money Culture TV. Let's take a look at this. I want to look at XRP while we're on break here. A little bit of that. Those of you who are still on with us here on social media, we're going to continue to look while everyone else gets the commercials. By the way, if you're watching on our website, if you go to our website, smartmoneyculture.tv, then of course you're going to get the commercials, because whatever goes out into the world out there in Houston, Corpus Christi, College Station, Beaumont, Lake Charles, Louisiana, Tallahassee, Washington D.C., Denver, and other places, then they're getting commercials, and so we stream it directly right back here to the website, so that people on the website can get the benefit of the commercials as well. Hold on one second. Hold on. Had to get that out of Okay. All right. Let's look at it a little bit. But anyway, those of you who are on social media, we don't have a very big social media. Matter of fact, we have hardly any social media. Man, there was a time back in the day where I had hundreds. My Instagram was the biggest. We had hundreds of thousands of followers. That was a lot of fun. We used to have on Facebook too. We used to have 3 or 4 little sub-sites on there, and we had thousands and thousands of followers. It was really stupid how many we had. But that was pretty incredible too. But now we have, we've evolved and got rid of all that, and when we're starting again, we have hardly anybody on social media. We're not mad, because we're broadcast TV. Broadcast TV is king. So if you want to do business with or something, you can always. By the way, if you're looking to do insurance, and this is how we support ourselves. We're running ads now. If you see an ad and it pertains to you, then call that ad or hit the QR code and then reach a hold of them. Most of them are phone calls. You get a hold of them, you talk for just a minute, we get paid. That's how it works. So please go there, okay? If you can use it, don't go there if you don't need the service, but if you can use the service, go there, okay? That's why we do this, and this is how we pay. We're not the only ones that do this. All major networks do this, all of them. All mid-range networks, regional networks, and low-powered television stations like we're on do this, okay? They all do these type of ads. They're not anything that anybody, but this is how television networks support themselves and pay the bills, okay? So anyway, you can help us out if you need the services, go there. Are we back live again? We are back live here on Smart Money Culture Television Network. I'm your host, Fly Mackey. So let's take a little look here at XRP. XRP, look at this. I just drew this line right here. Look at the trajectory of this. This is probably the better one. You can do something like this, or you can do something like this. This is probably the better one right here. This is a 4-hour chart here. You could also do something like that. See that? Even if you're hitting the top of these green candles, see this? You're hitting the top of the green candles. Even if you're hitting the top of the green candle, the trajectory is still descending, which means going down. If you take the red candles, go like this. By the way, if you want some really good charting, you can follow Christopher Inc. You can follow Mark Meckler. There's a lot of guys out there who are just absolute beasts, phenomenal at charting. You see the trajectory right here, and then where it follows this path, and you hit a lot of the top of these candles out this path descending down, It hasn't been that harsh, by the way, but it's right now it's a 342 or 349. 349 is where it was at, give or take, or 342, and then now it's at 257. And that's because Bitcoin. Everyone follows Bitcoin. Every coin follows Bitcoin. You see the trajectory. I mean, actually, this is probably, listen to Christopher and them. This is the better angle right here. This is quite a bit of a drop off right here. If you want to see some really good charting, you go follow let's remove that. If you want to see some really good charting, you can go follow Christopher, one of these guys that I was talking about. You're going to get some really good. This thing, see that? Dip all the way down there. Boom. Wow, that's all I got to say. Okay. Let's look at a little bit more news, okay? Yeah. 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 People, every senator and every congressman wanted to look at the financials of USA. This doesn't mean that it's aid, that I can't remember what the acronym stands for. Um, United States Aid International Development. That's what that is. United States Aid for International Development. That's what that means. It doesn't mean U.S. It's not for us. We're not aiding anybody. Most of this money is going to these think tanks in Washington, D.C. They go to overthrow government. They go to our enemies. And we've been supporting the Taliban and ISIS and those guys. It is, I think, treacherous. I won't get into that conversation too much. This is one of my favorites. I'm a big fan of AOC, and she's not, only because I don't know. Because she came from the working class and was a bartender, and she's just always in a good mood. Not always. Sometimes she's really mean, but I don't know. She's just fun to follow. I'm a big fan of hers. Not a fan of her politics, what she believes in at all. Oh, this is hilarious. I love it. Big fan of hers, though. Y'all don't be mad at me for that. We're not believing anything she says. She's fun to watch. Let's watch this.
Obliteration. And I can't imagine they do that. It should have been stated by Biden, but he didn't state it because he had no clue, as you know, as everybody knows.
What is your vision actually for relationship
Do you
with
have
Iran?
anything else?
No, that's all we got.
My vision for
For a
what?
relationship with Iran, and what do you?
I'd love to have a good relationship with everybody. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That was my only. It was the only thing that was very important. They can't have a nuclear weapon. Beyond that, it would be very tough if they insist on doing that. They have some of their leadership, I can tell you right now, and maybe you know it, maybe you don't, but there are many people at the top ranks of Iran that do not want to have a nuclear weapon just for that very reason.
Mr. President, what's your reaction to China's retaliatory tariffs?
That's fine. It's fine. We're going to do very well against China and against everybody else. Right now, they've taken advantage of the Biden administration like I've never seen. I've never seen. The deficit with China is about $1 trillion. Think of it, $1 trillion. They're using our money to build their military. And Biden let that happen. You know, we're taking a lot of fires here. We came back. This is like a different place. The good
Let's
news
take
is
a
we're
listen
doing
here.
very well. We're doing well with countries that nobody expected we'd do well with. We are respected again as a nation,
Yeah.
maybe at a level that people haven't seen for many, many decades. But when I left, we didn't have any wars. I defeated ISIS, 100% of the ISIS caliphate, and now the world seems to be ready to blow up, but we'll see if we can stop it.
Mr. President, have you reached out to the Iranians about any kind of deal?
Say it.
Have you reached out to the Iranians about any kind of deal to start those
I would
discussions?
reach out. I mean, I have nothing. I see. I'm one that doesn't care whether I reach out or they reach out. A lot of people say, "Let them reach out, sir." To me, it doesn't matter. It's
But
just
that hasn't
it's
started
just
yet?
talk. But I want to see everybody do well. I want to see great countries, and I want to see peace in the Middle East and elsewhere. We're also working very hard with respect to Russia, Ukraine. That's a bloodbath. It's a total bloodbath. What's going on there is incredible. What's going on with the soldiers, young soldiers being killed by the thousands. I mean, literally by the thousands. And we want to see if we can get that stopped. And I think we've had some very good talks.
Any update on when you would speak to President Xi, sir? Any update on when you would speak to President Xi?
No, we'll speak to him at the appropriate time. I'm in no rush.
Do you,
At the
do
appropriate
you think that conversation can lend itself to the type of freeze that it meant for the tariffs for Canada and
Well,
Mexico?
we'll see what happens. Well, there's a short-term freeze with Mexico, as you know, and with Canada. But they've agreed to be very, very strong on the border, stronger than they ever were by far, by a factor of about 30. And in addition to that, as you can see, we've been strong because we've had numbers like you've never seen before. I mean, the border is now closed, really closed. And with that being said, we're letting good people come through, and we want good people to come into our country. But the border is closed.
In your
President Trump,
talks, in your
sometimes-
talks with Prime Minister Netanyahu today, do you intend to press him about how many deaths there have been amongst Palestinians? Are you concerned about that death?
I talk about that too. You know, both sides mean a lot. I talk about that. I talk about the other side. I talk about everything.
What's your main message to him today during your meeting?
Well, I'm here to listen. He's here to see me, and I'm here to listen. So,
Will you
President
continue
how
to
much of a
press?
message?
will
At
you
the right
continue-
time, I'll give him my
Mr.
message.
President, will you continue to press for this idea that Jordan and Egypt take Palestinians from Gaza?
yeah, I would like to see Jordan. I'd like to see Egypt take some look. The Gaza thing has not worked. It's never worked, and I feel very differently about Gaza than a lot of people. I think they should get a good, fresh, beautiful piece of land, and we get some people to put up the money to build it and make it nice and make it habitable and enjoyable and
Somewhere else.
But
make
you
it
say
a
they don't
home.
want to leave, though. Palestinians say they don't want to leave.
I don't know how they could want to stay. It's a demolition site. It's a pure demolition site. If we could find the right piece of land or numerous pieces of land and build them some really nice places with plenty of money in the area, that's for sure. I think that would be a lot better than going back to Gaza, which has had just decades and decades of death.
Where would those pieces of land be?
Well,
if
they
those
could
Arab
be in
countries
Jordan,
don't
and
want
they
to?
could be in Egypt, and they could be in other places. You could have more than two, more than one, but you could have more than two. And you'd have people living in a place that could be very beautiful and safe and nice. Gaza's been a disaster for decades.
Would the U.S. pay for that?
I don't think
contribute?
I don't
Would the
think
United
the
States
UN would
contribute?
pay, but I think there's plenty of people that would in the area. They have a lot of money. They certainly have a lot of money. Some of the countries over there, they'd like to see it. I
That
know
was well said.
that Saudi Arabia wants to see peace. I can see that. And many of the countries there, as far as I'm concerned, they all want peace. I think, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think Iran would like to see peace too. They've had enough. Don't you think they've had enough?
They've had enough. We're going to go back to commercial break. You've been watching Smart Money
Well,
Culture
they may have said
Television.
that, but a lot of people said
I'm your
things to
host,
me.
Fly Mackey.
They
We'll be
said they
right
wouldn't
back.
take anybody back in Venezuela, and right now they're flying them right back into Venezuela. And a lot of people, and they're doing the right thing in
For
Venezuela.
those of you who are still with us here
The
on
Panama
social
Canal
media,
is an active discussion right now. They said things about that, and virtually everything that's been said has been incorrectly stated based on the result.
Doesn't
Would
that
the
amount
people be
to
able to
forcibly
return to
displacing?
Gaza?
Wouldn't that amount to forcibly displacing those people from Gaza? If
I don't
they say
think
they
so.
want
I
to
think
stay?
if they had the opportunity, they'd love it. If they had an alternative.
There's so
to it, they
much
have
that
no
you can
alternative
learn
right
from
now.
listening to him.
I mean, they're there
about
because they have
negotiations.
no alternative. What do they have? It is a big pile of rubble right now. I mean, have you seen the pictures of it? Have you been there? It's terrible to live. Who can live like that? And very dangerous. There's shooting all over the place. There's bombing all over the place on both sides. No, I would think if they had an option of moving to an area, either in a large group or various smaller groups, and take care of the close to 2 million people, I would think that they would be thrilled to do it. They have no, when you say about the Gaza Strip, they don't have an option.
To be clear, you're saying they'd be thrilled.
very dangerous.
They'd be thrilled to leave Gaza.
Oh, I think they'd love to leave Gaza if they had an option. Right now, they don't have an option. What are they going to do? They have to go back to Gaza. But what is Gaza? There's practically not a building standing.
There's not a building
Dangerous.
standing
Those
there.
buildings are shifting and they're falling down all over the place, and there's gunfire all over. It's going to be that way for a while.
Mr. President, wouldn't it have been made more sense to evacuate people while the war was ongoing rather than now when there's a ceasefire?
Which is what you're talking about.
When it was more dangerous when there were strikes overhead than now.
Well, the strikes could start tomorrow. There's not a lot left to strike.
Exactly.
It's a demolition site. The whole place is demolished. It's unsafe.
It's demolished.
It's unsanitary. It's
Welcome
not a
back to the
place where
Climax
people want to
Show
live.
here. We're listening to the president.
Nobody's got. It's
Doing
they have no
a-
alternative but to go back. And
talking
we
to
gave
the
them an
press here.
alternative of living in a beautiful open place with some, nice quarters there, nice housing of sorts, and we have the money in the Middle East to build that.
Do you support Israelis actually moving back and creating building
Not
settlements?
necessarily. No, I just support.
If you're not able to hear us
cleaning it
really
up
well,
and
we're
doing
wife
something with it.
traveling,
It's failed for
and the
many decades. And somebody will be
so
sitting
when
here
you're
10 years or 20 years from now, and they'll be going through the
Wi-Fiing
same
into the
stuff.
system,
wars.
sometimes it doesn't come out
And,
very
they've
well.
had civilizations on Gaza, many civilizations on Gaza, and they're buried in the sand.
Secretary
It
Rubio,
doesn't seem to work.
President, on
Secretary-
Elon Musk, sir,
Yeah.
thank you, sir. On Elon Musk, how often are you talking to him? And have there been ideas that he's brought to you that you've said, oh no, wait a minute, this is going a little too far?
Well, many ideas, but look, he's done a great job. Look at all the fraud that he's found in this U.S. AID. It's a disaster what the people, radical left
He's so
lunatics,
diplomatic now,
they have
but
things
still
that
he's
nobody
so
would
direct.
believe.
Wonderful. It's very
The whole
refreshing.
thing with $100 million spent on you know what, with money going to all sorts of groups that shouldn't deserve to get any money. With the money, I'd like to see what the kickbacks are. How much money has been kicked back? Who would spend that kind of money to some of the things that you read about and I read about and I see every night on the news and every morning when I read the papers? Who would spend money for that? I would say this: the people that got all that money, are they kicking it back to the people that gave it from government?
Good question.
No, that's, to me, very, very corrupt. The real question is how much of a kickback
This has been
has there
going
been?
on
And
for
one of the
decades.
things I want to investigate rapidly, because I've never seen anything to this extent. The train that's being built between Los Angeles.
Just so you guys know, President JFK, John F. Kennedy, was the one who created U.S. aid. And it's not congressional. Congress has zero say on it, even though they've been whining, moaning, and complaining. Do you see how they all went outside in the cold yesterday, trying to, like 100 of them, trying to cry and complain and say he can't do this? He can do this because he's the executor over these agencies, not Congress, not the Senate. They have no say over this. This was created through executive order, but they've been using it as a shadow government to do what they want whenever they want to do it. Thank goodness that President Trump brought in Elon, and now that's not going to happen anymore.
Angeles and San Francisco is the worst managed project I think I've ever seen, and I've seen some of the worst. Billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars over budget. In fact, I read where you could take every single person that was going to go on the train and get the finest limousine service in the world and take them back and forth with limousines, and you'd have hundreds of billions of dollars left over. It is the worst thing, and we're going to start an investigation in that because it's not possible. I built for a living, and I built on time, on budget. It's impossible that something could cost that much. And now it's not even going to San Francisco, and it's not going to Los Angeles. They made it much shorter. So now it's at little places way away from San Francisco and way away from Los Angeles. No, we're going to start a big investigation on that because I've never seen anything like it. Nobody has ever seen anything like it. The worst overruns that there have ever been in the history of our country. And it wasn't even necessary. I would have said, you don't buy it. You take an airplane. It costs you $2. It costs you nothing. You take an airplane. But this got started, and if you have to, you drive. You can drive.
Are there other agencies?
They have hundreds of billions of dollars of cost overruns, and it's not even the same project. It's much shorter. It's way outside of San Francisco and way outside of Los Angeles. So we're going to be looking into
Who's
this.
going to investigate that? Is that DOJ who's going to investigate the train?
No, I'm doing that myself. No.
Some of these Doge engineers that Elon Musk has helping him are as young as 19 years
That's
old.
good. They're very smart, though, Peter. They're like you. They're very smart people.
Thank you. Have you met any of these guys?
No, I haven't seen them. They work actually out of the White House. They're smart people. Unlike what they do in the control towers, where we need smart people, we should use some of them in the control
I
towers.
hope you're
where
listening
we
to
were putting
this.
people that were actually intellectually deficient. That was one
These
of the
kids are better
qualifications,
because
is you
they're
could be
gamers and
intellectually
know how to use
deficient.
computers. They're better
No, we need smart people.
than
Some are
most
young and
adults
some are
because they
not
grow
young. Some
up
are not
using
young
them.
at
When
all.
he says they could be in
But
the
they
towers,
found
they
great
could
things. Look at the
easily
list
be
of
power
things.
control.
Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I'll read off a list of 15 or 20 things that they found inside of the USAID. It has to be corrupt. Nobody could approve that. They could only approve that if they were getting kickbacks.
And
You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars.
it sounds like you're going to wind down USAID.
It sounds like it. I mean, I think so. Yeah.
So when that happens, which part of the government?
Well,
will
I
be
could see
responsible
Marco
for paying?
Rubio being in charge, State Department, because they're giving money to. I mean, some of the money is well spent, I guess, but much of it is really fraudulent.
And on the education department, why nominate Linda McMahon to be the education department secretary if you're going to get rid of the education department?
Because I told Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job. I want her to put herself out of a job. Education department. So we're ranked number 40 out of 40 schools, right? We're ranked number 1 in cost per pupil. So we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. And we're ranked at the bottom of the list. We're ranked very badly. And what I want to do is let the states run schools. I believe strongly in school choice. But in addition to that, I want the states to run schools.
That is so amazing.
I want Linda to put herself out of a job.
Do
So
you think that's something
eliminate
you can
the
do
department?
with an executive order, or are you going
I'd
to
like
ask,
to be able to
ask
do it.
Congress
Yeah,
to
I
do
would
it?
like to be able to. Look, if I could give the schools back to Iowa and Idaho and Indiana and all these places that run properly, there's many of them. I think, so if you look at the list, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, believe it or not, China's doing very well on that list, a list of well-educated, where they run their school system well. You have a lot of countries, not surprising names. I think that if you moved our schools into some of these states that
Probably
are really
India.
well-run states, they would be as good as Denmark and Norway and Sweden and some of the other states. And then you'd have the laggards, and you know who they are. I don't have to go to it, but you'd have the laggards, the same laggards that are laggards with everything else, including crime. But even them, you'll break it into systems. As an example, if you went to New York, you go to Westchester County, you go to Dutchess County, you go to Suffolk and Long Island and Nassau and Long Island. You have maybe 6 or 7 locations. And you have New York City, which would include the 5 boroughs. And I think even that would run much better than it does right now. Same thing with Los Angeles or
Yeah.
California. You'd have Riverside. You'd break it up into 6 or 7 people. But most of them would be.
You're watching the Fly
states,
Mackey
and
show
you'd have
here
one,
on
like
Smart
in
Money
Iowa, you give it to the
Television.
state of Iowa, you give it to
Out
the
of the
state
great
of
state
Indiana,
of
you give it.
Texas,
These are
Louisiana,
really
Florida,
well-run
Washington,
states. They don't
D.C.,
have
Denver,
debt,
Colorado.
They don't have problems. They don't
all
have any
locations
crimes,
across the country
relatively
for those
speaking, to
specifically.
speak of.
You can find us
And
on
you would
TV
have
in those states.
education that would be the
Stream everything
equivalent
back
of
to
Norway
website
and
here.
Denmark and various
do have
other
this
places that are at the top of the list.
very,
So we're
very
at the
small
bottom of the
social
list
media
and we're the
presence.
most expensive. We're at
Probably
the top
like
of the list
30
when it
people.
comes to crossing. We spend
We
more
have
money per pupil than
We
any
have a few
other
hundred,
nation in the
small.
world, and yet we're
We're not
rated
complaining.
number 40.
Thank you,
The
loyal
last
viewers,
ratings came
wherever
out,
you're
you saw
watching
them.
us from.
So they talk about 40 countries. We're rated number 40. And I say that if we did this, we would go 20, 30 notches up. We could do great. And we would have some of the best districts in the world.
We're
Are
going to
you
go to
looking do
commercial
that with
break
an
once
executive
again
order,
here.
sir, or do you
You've been
know-
watching
Well, there are
Smart
some
Money
people
Culture
that say I
Television.
could. I think I'd work with Congress. I think we'd we'd have to work with the teachers union because the teachers union is the only one that's opposed to it. Nobody else would want to hold them back.
You
Well,
guys,
we have to
we'll
tell
see you
the
this
teachers
afternoon,
union,
okay?
We're rated last in the world in education of the top 40. We're rated last. We were 38. Now we're 40. We went to 30 now. We
Fly
went to
Mackey here
40,
with Smart Money Culture
37,
TV,
But
and
we're
we'll see you
40
this
now.
afternoon.
The thing just came out. That's under Biden. Remember that.
Secretary Rubio announced a deal this week that would allow potentially American citizens for criminals to be put in a different country. Is that something you're looking to
Oh,
do?
no, I didn't know that he announced that yet, but if he did, it's fine, yeah. We have
That would be
hardened
so
criminals,
cool.
horrible people. You see them pushing people into subways. The train is coming last week. Guy walking around, just sees somebody waiting for the train. Train's coming 40 miles
All right,
an
guys.
hour.
We'll see you
And he
in a
gets
couple
pushed
of
into
hours
the
on the
subway.
Fly Mackey show.
And that happens all the time. These
Stay
are sick
tuned
people.
because we're going to be talking
If we could
about
get them out of our
insurance
country,
and
we
insurance
have
companies paying
other
people
countries that would take them.
out
They
there.
could,
If you have a
it's no different than a
three-caption,
prison
there's like
system,
a
except
high
it would be a lot
90%
less expensive.
insurance. They're
And it would be a
desperate.
great
They
deterrent.
want to give you a
Send them to other
It's
countries.
one of the areas
We
where
if
they
we could go a step
absolutely
further, in other words,
100% wanting to
we're
pay
talking about
to get
getting the
you
criminals
right?
out of our country
So
that come in
we've been
through
talking about that.
other
Be a
countries
commercial.
illegally, right? The
And
illegal
it,
migrants,
you know,
as I call
and
them.
it
Well,
has to
we
do
have
with
people
you.
that are just
It's how
as
we
bad
pay
as
for the
them
network.
in our country. If
Please
we
call
could
those
get them
numbers
out,
and help
I'd be
us
very
out
happy.
now. The unfunded 36 seconds because that's how we get paid. You've been watching Smart Money Culture.